The title of today's story is Sofia in Wonderland, so let's start the story. Once upon a time, a curious girl named Sofia lived in a small village. Sofia loved exploring and often dreamed about faraway lands and magical creatures. On a sunny afternoon, Sofia was sitting under a big tree with her sister, reading a book. Sofia, feeling bored, looked around and saw a white rabbit in a waistcoat hopping about. She was surprised when the rabbit took out the watch from his pocket and said, "Hey, I will be late." Out of curiosity, Sofia decided to chase the rabbit. She watched as she disappeared into a big rabbit hole under the tree. Without thinking, Sofia jumped into the hole and suddenly found herself falling down, down, into a deep tunnel. It seemed as if she was falling forever as she passed by such unique objects as teapots and bookshelves. Finally, Sofia landed softly on a bed of leaves in a strange, brightly lit hall with many doors. Sofia got up. She saw that there were many small doors in the hall, and a small key was lying on the glass table in the middle, but that key did not fit in any of the doors. As she continued searching, she found a small door behind a curtain. The key fits perfectly. However, Sofia was too big to fit through the door. On the table, she finds a bottle labeled "Drink Me." Sofia hesitated but decided to take a sip. Immediately, she began to shrink until she was small enough to fit through the door. Through the door on the other side, Sofia entered a beautiful garden filled with vibrant flowers and unusual creatures. She wandered through the garden, marveling at the sights and sounds, until she found a large, smiling Cheshire cat sitting in a tree. "Hello," Sofia said politely. "Can you tell me which way I should go?" "It depends on where you want to go," replied the Cheshire cat with an enigmatic smile. "I don't know. I'm just hanging out here," Sofia admitted. "Then it doesn't matter which way you go," said the Cheshire cat, still smiling. "But if you really want a thrill, you go to the Mad Hatter or the March Hare. They're both quite mad, you know." Out of curiosity, Sofia thanks the Cheshire cat and decides to meet the Mad Hatter first. She continued down that path until she reached a long table set up for a tea party. The Mad Hatter, the March Hare, and a sleeping dormouse were all sitting at the table. No place. When they saw Sofia coming, they shouted. "There's plenty of room," Sofia said, taking a seat. That tea party was the most unique one that Sofia had attended. The Mad Hatter and the March Hare were constantly moving around, changing seats and asking riddles that made no sense. The dormouse kept sleeping and waking up, telling strange stories. Sofia became upset with all these things and decided to move ahead. As she walked away from the tea party, Sofia noticed a large castle surrounded by playing cards. Out of curiosity, she followed the cards and found herself in the court of the Queen of Hearts, a very assertive and demanding ruler. "Cut off his head," the queen kept shouting every few minutes, which frightened Sofia very much. The queen sees Sofia and invites her to play a game of croquet. The game was different from any croquet Sofia had ever seen. The hammers were live flamingos and the balls were elephants. During the game, Sofia saw the white rabbit again. He seemed even more nervous than before. "You should go," he whispered to her. "The queen is very dangerous." Sofia nodded and quietly walked away from the croquet game. She wandered around the palace gardens trying to find a way out. Suddenly her eyes fell on a court. The Knave of Hearts was on trial for stealing the Queen's tarts. The King of Hearts, playing the role of judge, called various witnesses, including the Mad Hatter, who gave very strange testimony. After that, Sofia was called to the stand. As she stood there, she realized that everything in Wonderland was becoming more and more absurd. "All this is rubbish," Sofia exclaimed. "None of this makes any sense." The Queen of Hearts turned red with anger. "Cut off her head," she shouted. Sofia gathered courage and told him. "You can't hurt me," she shouted back. "You're all just like a deck of cards." At that very moment, the cards rose into the air and began spinning around Sofia. She closed her eyes due to dizziness, and when she opened them again, she was back under the big tree with her sister. The sun was setting. "Sofia, you're dreaming again," her sister said, smiling. "Come on, it's time to go home." Sofia stood up, brushing the leaves from her frock. She took one last look down the rabbit hole and wondered if his adventure was real or just a dream. As she walked home with her sister, she couldn't help but smile, knowing that Wonderland would always be a part of her, whether real or imaginary.